So, Kendall, what's today's topic about? You are now in charge of all things directing and podcast relations. I don't even know the topic today, guys. That's how we do it here. He does everything, and the goal is for me to give you real advice as if you were sitting here in front of me, though. So I can't prepare for what you're going to ask me when you get here. So let's get into it.
He's absolutely right. I come up with these questions, and being someone that's a novice when it comes to business and operating a business, we thought that this would be a perfect concept for this podcast because there's a lot of you out there who don't know squat about business, operating a business, finances, whatever it may be, right? So I'm here to ask questions for you guys, but also for you people who are seasoned veterans in business and you may need a little consulting. So I'm asking questions that I've gotten from other people who are both of those perspectives. Okay, so Art, I hope you're ready, man, because I'm drilling you today.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm drilling you today. All right. So before we get started, Art, just let people know again your background, being a business consultant, what made you want to become a consultant, so people can really understand your mindset when it comes to this business of MITM.
Yeah, no problem. So, 13 years in finances now, almost 10 of that at a bank where I was a business relationship manager, managed 555 clients, almost $600 million in assets. Transitioned into consulting where I took a lot of my knowledge and started providing it more in depth for clients. We're a full service business advisory firm, so we do bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, uh, HR management, HR, I mean, you name it, we do it. We even have our own lending platforms in house. I mean, we're from head to toe, we can take care of your business. So I'm excited for those questions. Anybody wondering where the wide shot is? I don't know. We're having an issue with this Logitech again. And if you guys have seen my YouTube shorts, you'll know my opinions on that. And if you don't, then feel free to watch those shorts.
One thing about Art, you guys start to see more and more in his personality is he's gonna speak his mind. That's one thing I love about this man. He's gonna speak his mind. He's gonna tell it like it is. So I hope you all are ready for what we're gonna talk about here today. So the first thing I want to talk about, or the first question I have for you is, what would you say are some key factors, right, when it comes to like that contribute to the success of a business? Period.
Okay. First thing that contributes to the success of a business is its owner. Because before the business even exists, it has its owner, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? In
Mm-hmm.
this case, you're the egg, the business is the chicken. You got to hatch into the chicken before this business can become a thing. One of the key factors of a business owner that makes him successful, and we talk about this in our class that we have developed, and one of the key factors of success is going to be understanding that you don't know everything, showing a bit of humility, because when you show that, it allows you to figure out what you need to work on, right? So everybody has a strength. And the hardest part for a business owner is to transition from tradesman or expert in just one thing and then become a business owner. And typically we see this in the construction industry more than anything else, where they may be the best at whatever it is they do in their field of construction, but they're only really good at that. And that's not in a negative light, it's just explaining that they know how to be a great tradesman, but they don't know how to be a business owner. And being those two things are completely separate, right? So, first thing first, you have to be really good at what you do. Once you get that out of the way, the next thing you have to do is you have to be willing to learn. And part of willing to learn is understanding that you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And wanting to learn it is where having humility and understanding that pride and humility have to come all your humility has to go up, your pride has to go down. You have to be able to accept that you're not an expert in being a business owner, you're an expert in being a tradesman. But
Mm-hmm.
we can take your knowledge of being a tradesman and apply that to the business, but then there's business things that have nothing to do with you being a tradesman. How to run a schedule, how to run a team, how to keep up with morale, how to keep up with funding, how to keep up with people stealing from, whatever business it is. Restaurants tend to have this industry problem too because everybody steals from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a big problem where the people in the kitchen stealing, the servers taking meals, taking almost empty bottles of wine, and that hurts the bottom dollar. So one of the most key factors I would say is knowing that you don't know it. and then
Mm.
finding somebody who can help you figure it out and work through it. And that's part of what we do as consultants is we're going to tell you what you're good at, but I'm going to emphasize what you're not good at because that's what's going to make your business get better. I don't need to tell you how to put up a new roof or put together a kitchen.
Right.
You know how to do that. I
Right.
don't know how to do that.
Right. So can you give, if you can, an example? Of course, you don't have to say any names, but an example
Yeah.
of maybe there was a time where you met a business owner, and maybe at the actual trades, the trade that he has, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, he was excellent at it, but then you had to really ring them in when it comes to the business aspect of it.
Yeah, actually, I say construction because they're the biggest ones. They're the
Mm-hmm.
ones who have the biggest issue because their industry is very like rough, and not just in the work that they provide, but in the way that they get treated. It's very it's not very professional. A lot of guys on the field cursing up a storm when the clients are right there, or they say things to each other, or if there's a girl on the team, they tend to a lot of like sexual harassment stuff happens in that industry.
Mm.
It's the same reason like the back of the kitchen, they always say the back of the kitchen is like stay away, right? Because those are usually like your convicts, your felons who just got out and they want to cook, and there's nothing wrong with being that, but they are not going to be the how can I help you today, sir? What the F are you doing in my kitchen? Get the heck out of here.
Right.
That's just what it is. And it's understanding that, right? But then it's up to the business owner to determine, is that something that we're going to continue to do, or are we going to be the one that are different, right? So construction, I can think of a client already. It was in the construction industry, doing great. The guy could build anything, and he was quality build. I mean, when I say good build, I mean good build. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of the stuff I would see him do is like, wow, I can't believe that you were able to turn this into that.
Right.
But biggest issue was he didn't know how to be a business owner. He didn't know how to keep his team accountable. He didn't know how to give a standard operational procedure for his team to follow. And then when his team would fail, he would blame them. And when he came to me, he said, this is, I feel like I'm getting ready to lose my business. And they were really close to losing it. And I said, look, it's not going to be cheap because of what they, at the stage they were in and the work that needed to be done. But I was spending, I want to say 3 days a week there for like 6 hours.
Mm.
And that was probably the most time I had spent into just one business because it was literally make or break, and I took it very seriously. And it was one of those things where it's like everything they did outside of the work was terrible. The way that they explained contracts to their client, terrible. The way their contracts were written, terrible. The way that their terms of services, terrible. The way that they managed time, terrible. It was everything. It was like, wow, a lot of work needs to be done. And the owner just kept blaming his team. Oh, they just don't want to work. They don't appreciate this opportunity. And I say this in a lot of podcasts, and I say, nobody's going to work as hard as you're going to work. If you hire somebody thinking that the kid you just paid $20 an hour is going to love your business the way that you do and put in 80 hours a week, he's not. And if you expect that out of him, you're delusional. It's just what it is. You have to understand that too. And that's what a lot of owners tend to do is they put too much hope into their staff that this staff is going to love the place as much as they do. And it's wishful thinking, but the reality is it just doesn't work out that way. They're not as vested as you are. You have everything to lose. They have nothing to lose but the job. And they can go find another one if they needed to. Whereas you can't just get up and walk away and go find another job. You're going to have to figure out what to do with all your stuff.
Wow. So with that particular business owner, how did they take it? How when you explained that to him, what the issue was?
Yeah.
It was them. How did they respond? Did they respond right away, or did it take some time?
Well, it's like, I don't know if you know the stages of grief, where it's like
Oh yeah, okay.
you're depressed, then you eventually accept it, and then
Right.
you pretend like it never happened. It's kind of the same thing. It's like nobody wants to hear they're the reason their business is failing
Mm.
because they're putting in so many hours, right? It's just one of those things where you're like, but I put in all these hours. It's like, yeah, you put in all these hours, but you're not doing it right. So you're just wasting those hours, right? Because it's not just putting time into something, it's making sure that the time you put is being used effectively. So it's like, yeah, I'm putting time into it, but you're putting all your time and effort into the wrong thing. And if you're not focusing on what's important, what's really wrong with your business, it's not going to help you. And a lot of the times it ends up just being this thing where it's like, okay, how do I, there's always pushback. I don't think so. I've given them all the chances and opportunity in this. I actually, funny story is, I'll never forget this too, because to this day, this is probably, I want to say, happened 10 or 12 years, 11 or 12 years ago this happened. I was working at said bank that we both ended up working at.
Right.
And I was just a teller at the time. Was barely starting. It was the beginning of my career. I had a branch manager that he would take the abuse that he would get at home from his wife out on his team, because his wife would just run him.
One of those.
Yeah,
right?
whip him all over the place and run him. And then he would come and do that to us. And it was like, but we didn't do anything to you. Right? It's that deflection of like, I've been treated this way, so hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the bankers at that time, who I was really good friends with, he just was getting depressed. He just couldn't stand it. And kind of like what you said last week, where every day he was coming into work, he's like, is today the day I quit?
Yeah. Well,
today was that day for him. And he walks in and he was expecting twins. And that he was the only one working. His wife doesn't work. And he walks into the boss's office and he goes, I quit. And the guy goes, what do you mean you quit? You have daughters come, you have 2 twin girls coming, your wife doesn't work. And he said, I would, and to this day, I'll never forget. He goes, I would rather stress about my family starving than work for somebody like you. That was the exact words that he said, that I would rather figure out how to feed my family from starving and keep them from starving than work for somebody like you. And I'll never forget how the manager took that. He came, talked to all of us, he put us all together, and he said, when he said that, it really hurt my feelings. But then I realized it was his fault, not mine. And I'm looking like, I thought he was going to say, wow, I need to change who I am. No, he said, at first I thought it was my fault, but then I realized I gave him every opportunity to succeed, and he just wasn't taking it. So he's deflecting his problems on me. So I didn't do anything wrong. I'm a great person. And everybody's just like, man, the level of cope on this one is astronomical. Where it's like, that guy just told you to your face that he would watch his family starve than work for you. And you go, it's not me. It's him. That one is wild. That one I'll never forget.
I don't know if I could have sat there and not said something. I was,
what do you
bro,
say?
it is
you can't.
you.
No, you can't. What do you say to that at that
I know,
point?
but it's like, are you serious right now? Like, I would thought he was joking.
No, he dead faced. No, I realized I gave you all the resources you could ever need, so it was you. And everybody's just like, wow, that's wild. I'll never forget that. To this day, that's 12 years ago. It didn't even affect me, mind you. It had nothing to do with me. I was just there, but I was like, wow. I've never heard somebody say something so deep where it's like, I'd rather starve. I'd rather my family starve than work for you. Because if I heard that, that would make me seriously evaluate my management style, my ownership style, my everything. Just like, you would rather starve than work for me. That, like, how bad do I have to be that you choose to starve?
That's what you call a lack of accountability, a lack of self-reflection, just, all these different things.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I know this is very extreme, people, so walk with me, but that's almost like if you're a parent and your kid came to you and said, I would rather go live on the street
than live in this house. Yeah, and they can be dramatic too. I mean, they get to an age where it's like, you can't be on your iPad. I'd rather live in the streets than be in this house. And it's like, okay, dramatic, but there's definitely, and that's why there's a side to they always say, there's 3 sides to a story, right? There's your side, my side, and the truth. And the reality is like, even if you're not in the wrong, right? I've always said this, and I tell people this too, is every day your goal is to be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. So when you wake up, you ask yourself the question, how can I be a better person than I was yesterday? And that doesn't mean you're a bad person. All you're doing is you're just building a pillar of good habits and good positive mentality of like, how can I be better than I was yesterday? What did I do right yesterday? What did I do wrong yesterday? So it's the day-to-day. Things go wrong. Like, people and their perception, right? Like perception is really important. And that's one of the roughest waters to navigate as a business owner is people's perception of what's being said and what's being done. The room's full of people, but those people can't help you with your problem. But what do most people say? Oh, the room's full of people, but nobody wants to work. It's not that nobody wants to work, it's that what you need, these people don't do. So yes, they may be sitting around, but they're not the person you're looking for. So that doesn't reflect that the business is bad. That's why they always in the restaurant industry they call it the forever moving towel.
And
that's where you grab something and you're just pretending to clean it at all times.
But
so that
not
you
really
never,
cleaning
yeah, you're just
anything.
constantly cleaning the same cup all day. And the reason you do that is because you just want to look like you're busy. Because people's perception is even if you're not doing something, but you appear to be doing something, they're like, okay, this person's not just slouching around being lazy. And you find that more in older clients than you do younger clients. Younger clients tend to be more chill and laid back. And then as people get older, their patience levels tend to kind of, diminish, which is just true.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it goes. They don't have the patience for it anymore. So they're like, oh, somebody can help me. I was always one to tell people like, don't, even if you know you can't do something, don't just say you can't do it. If you know the answer is no, and I used to do this at the bank all the time. They'd come to me, oh, I need this. I wouldn't be like, sorry, we can't do it. I'd say, let's see what we can do. I knew it was going to be a no. What am I going to spend? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Okay. I'll spend 15 minutes looking like I'm going out of my way to get you the answer that I already have the answer to. But you as a customer, your perception is going to be that I went out of my way to address your concerns and it was something we couldn't do.
The great thing about that is I'm going to say patient. the client still sees, what, Art went out of his way to get the best he could. So they still somewhat leave satisfied.
Yeah.
Because they say
they're not happy.
This guy tried.
Yeah, they're not happy, but they accept, what's being told to them because it's like, well, how do you know? Well, I know we can't do it. Yeah, but how do you know? Can you call somebody? It's like, no, I already called somebody. I didn't even say no. I said, let's see what we can do. Maybe we can figure it out together. It's just how it is. I've said this in one of our original podcast like 2 hosts ago or whatever, 3 people ago, where it's one of our Instagram shorts and YouTube shorts where I say it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? And as long as you navigate that water appropriately, where it's like, there are plenty of times where I don't want to even take certain clients because I can tell right away our personalities aren't going to match. And how do I tell them I'm not interested? Well, I'm not going to tell them I don't want to work with you. I can already see that our personalities are going to match. I'm going to say, I would say something like, for what you need, I don't think I'd be able to give you that, the attention that your business needs. However, right, we want to give them a solution. We don't want to just tell them we can't do something. I know somebody who'd be perfect for you, and he specializes in your industry, and I'm gonna make the connection for you. I'm gonna get him on the phone, and I'm gonna introduce you to him over the phone, and let's see if we can get you an appointment with him. It's like, yeah, I'm telling you I can't work with you, but I'm not telling you kick rocks. Right. I'm telling you I can't work with you, but I think I have somebody who's better suited for your industry, your personality type, and you guys will get along. And then not only have I given you the answer, but I'm gonna make the connection, right? Like I'll call that person for you. I'll get through all the legwork of getting you set up with them. And It's like it's like letting somebody down softly, like they say.
But at the end of the day, though, what's great about that is you showed that person you're still a go-to person.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just not your go-to person.
But you're still the man in the middle.
Right, exactly.
If you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta see how I did that there, man. In the middle.
There you go. What's the next question you got for me, good sir?
I did say I was going to drill you. So another question I have is, of course, when you think business, what's the first thing that comes to mind is money.
Yeah.
Finances. So, from a consultant's perspective, for all you business owners out there, what would you say would be the common mistakes that business owners are making as far as managing like their finances?
The common mistake that every business owner makes is over leverage. They over leverage themselves way too early. I've seen business owners that invest into their business, which is not a bad thing, because in the beginning I invested every dollar back into the business, but I didn't invest it into things that I didn't need. Like when we talked about last podcast, how I had to step away from the podcast. I've met business owners who like this is a hobby, we enjoy doing it, we're trying to build it into something, but they would put their entire livelihood into it, get the best equipment, get the best this, get the best that. And it's like, you could have done it with 1/5 the budget. You spent $6,000, you could have done it with $800. And it's not even feeding you. So it's like, I'm sure everybody listening has heard ROI, right? ROI stands for return on investment. It's not just your stocks or your bonds or your mutual funds that give you ROIs. It's anything that you put yourself into, right? It's like, I put time into it. Did I get it back? Did I get a return on my investment of time? Relationships with people are ROIs. I spent 10 years with the same person, and did they just walk out on me? Okay, did I get a return on my investment? Probably not. But it's one of those things where it's like over leveraging yourself, especially when you're not ready for something. The most common thing you see is, I tell people, it's like business is like surfing. There's some good waves, there's some crashers, there's some days where you're just out at sea and there's nothing. It's just calm waters. There are days where you can get your 12-foot wave. But it's understanding that, like, an anomaly happening one time where you're making 30 grand in a week, and then you go out and spend 25 of it to buy something because you think you can do that every week, is where people mess up. I always tell people you have to find consistency before you start spending. So every business has a good month, every business has a bad month. Some months are extraordinary where you can bring it, every industry is different, but some of them might bring in 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000, or even 10,000 if that's the best they've ever done in a month.
What would you say is the time frame of consistency that a business will need?
3 months. 3 months. If you can do the same thing 3 months in a row, great. Vehicles are a great example, right? Like, we've had so much business, we need another vehicle. You know who I'm talking about. He's out there. And one of the things I've always told him, one of the clients that I'm referring to, is your vehicles are all occupied right now. And you know who I'm talking about too. Your vehicles are all occupied right now. Tomorrow they might not be. Next week they might not be. So you buy a new truck or van or whatever, and you're trying to transport more clients. Well, what happens when dead season comes by? You now have an extra vehicle to upkeep, an extra insurance to pay for, extra, payment to pay, but it's not consistent enough to where it paid for itself. So it's like, you might be short resourced when you have that, the influx, because you kind of built your business to handle what it can handle, and then you'll get that influx. And it's like, you don't freak out. You navigate as best you can. You run things as close to the margins as you can on time and efficiency without compromising quality. But you don't just run out there and go buy something new thinking that this is it, this is my moment to shine. Because I say it all the time, you can do very few things to like demolish your business just like that. Like to lose your business like that, it's very hard. But if you make a bunch of little mistakes, those compound into, that's what's going to make you lose your business faster than one decision. And that's the thing, is like, your decision has to be something that you can come back from, right? Like I always tell people when they're trying to hire an employee, because that's very scary for a lot of business owners. I don't want to hire somebody because then what if business slows down? I'm like, then fire them, lay them off. Like, you can always back away from the decision you made. You could always just say, you know what, I thought it would work out and it didn't. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I've had clients who thought it was a good idea. They wanted to give it a try after we told them you could make more money. They made more money, but they just didn't want to do it anymore. They'd rather work by themselves. So they sacrificed money, and that's okay, because money's not the driving factor for everybody. Some people just want to be okay and have, that stability in their life. And they found that having that employer was not allowing them to have stability. So they decided it's time to pull back. That person didn't lose his business. That person didn't even lose really much of any income. He went back to stasis where he wanted to be. But the nice thing is, when he's ready to grow again, he can do that at any point.
So it kind of sounds like what you're saying is if one goes into business for themselves, starting a business, they need to really know themselves.
Yeah, you got to take it slow. You have to take it slow.
What's the conversation that one should have with themselves before they even think about starting a business?
Before they start the business,
Mm-hmm.
am I ready for this emotionally? Am I ready for this mentally? Because some people, like I said, like we said in the last one, not everybody is ready for it. That's why I love that Ratatouille movie.
Mm.
Anyone can cook, but not everyone's a good cook. And anyone can open a business, but not many people can run a business. And if if you want to know if you're a business person, take the course. Take our MITM school course. That's perfect for you. Once that thing is practically done, the course is finished. Get on the list to get on the course. That's going to help you figure it out because there's an entire chapter that we cover in there about the type of business owner you need to be and the type of business that you're trying to open. And it's a lot of mental. It's a lot of mental. There are people out there who can't handle rejection. I've consulted a few and I've had to say, I just don't think you can do this. Because if you break at the feet because of one no, you're not going to go very far in business because that's all it is. It's getting a bunch of no's until you get one yes.
Mm. Man, it really sounds like too, just from talking to you, not just on the show, but just, before we even turn these cameras on, you don't mind hearing the no.
No, I
You
don't
know,
care.
it's a lot of people out there that they're so scared to hear that no. I always talk about my kids. When I'm at home and my son or my daughter wants to ask me for something, and they're scared to ask me because they're scared to hear the no.
Yeah.
And I tell them the more you waste time and you beat around the bush, that's the more time I'm going to say no because
Yeah.
you're not even confident in what you're going to ask me.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. I think piggybacking off what you say, confidence is the key. You have to be confident in what you want to do. And that's why when you asked me last week, when should they come to me? It's after you know what you want to do.
Mm.
Because I'm not trying to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time. And it's weird to hear somebody say that, right? I don't want to waste my time. But that's because it's not that I don't want to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you. But I want to talk to you when you're serious about what you want to talk about. Because otherwise, I could just talk to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be the same thing. I'm going to tell you a bunch of great things that'll help you, and you're going to go back and go, I don't know. So, like, why are we wasting both our time? See, I value my time, and that's a lot of people's problems. They don't value their time. So, if you're going to spend an hour with me, you better be ready to take in an hour of information. And if you're not ready for an hour, then cancel the appointment and come next time.
Mm.
Because I want you at your best. I don't need you at your most mediocre. Because your business doesn't need you at your most mediocre, right? Your business needs you at your best. So I need you at your best.
Absolutely. Have you? I think you've already said this, but just in case anybody missed it, has there been? Well, you just said it actually that you've had to turn people away because of that reason, right? They're not ready. They're kind of back and forth whether they want to go on with their business or not, or they're not as passionate.
Yeah. It's just understanding and accepting yourself that sometimes when you've lost that fire, it's time to move on. There's a landscaping company that I'm working with right now, and that's the biggest problem. Dad is done. Dad's done. He doesn't care anymore. He's checked out. And the sons are there to pick up the slack of dad not caring. But when the sons try to implement the changes that they come to me for, there's pushback. So it's like, are you done or not? Because you being
Mm.
half in and half out is what's making this business fail. And it's understanding that sometimes you have to accept that it's time to go because you're the problem. And do you want to destroy the empire you built because you're over it? When your kids feed off of this, their families feed off of this, you're done. It's time to accept that. It's time to push them. I've told the sons, if they don't come around by this month, go open your own company and let them suffer because they don't care. If they don't care and they're, if you don't care, step away. If you do care, show up, because he's never here. The owner's never here.
Mm.
The owner will be in the car outside
Oh wow.
waiting because he doesn't have the capacity for it anymore. He doesn't want to do it, and I don't want him here if he doesn't want to do it, because I don't want to waste my time either.
Have you found that the family-owned companies are kind of the hardest to work with?
Yeah, there. I've had two scenarios. There's the family that works together, and the biggest problem with families that work together is egos.
Mm.
When you work with your brother, when you work with your cousin, when you work with your dad, there's an ego to it. Well, I'm the older brother. Well, I'm the dad. You owe me this. It's like, I don't owe you anything. This is business. It has nothing to do with anything, and it's like my own experience. So we're one of the only business advisory firms in the country who have their own armed security unit. So we have an armed security company named Next Gen Security Inc. They're the one that my brother and I run that company. My brother's in law enforcement, so he has the background in that. And then I was just tired of referring out business, and I said, let's bring that paper back, back where it belongs. And one of the first things I did was let my brother suffer and struggle trying to figure things out, because it was too easy for him to come to me and say, can you fix this?
Ah. And you know what? I can honestly say, in different aspects of life, not so much business,
Yeah.
but just in life, where I can say I've been your brother in a way, that I've had someone to kind of fall back on a little bit, knowing that I can possibly make a mistake, and then get that help or get that support real quick because I knew it was there. But sometimes when that safety blanket or that magic carpet gets pulled from under you, you kind of you kind of get exposed a little bit, but you learn through it and you start to be a little bit more tactful. You start to do more research, or you do whatever you can so you're not making those same mistakes
Right.
over and over.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like the family one is hard to navigate, because brother might think he's entitled to something and doesn't accept that he doesn't know, right? And that's one of the biggest problems, with navigating those waters. But there's also things where you have to understand, um, there's a dynamic. Who's good at what, right? Like in my brother's case, it's not that he had an ego. It's just he was too reliant on me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was trying to, I guess you would call it training out of somebody, is don't rely on somebody, because I get hit by a car tomorrow. What happens to the business? It crumbles? You know what I mean?
Right.
No, you have to understand the foundation. So whenever he'd be like, can you do this? I can do that, but I'm not going to. You found this deal, you're going to figure it out. And if you do it, and when you need me to step in and help you navigate it, then we'll go there. But I did that because it's just one of those things where it's like, it's not a sink or swim. I'm not saying you're going to sink or swim. I'm just saying you can't get too comfortable. You're like, we got this. Why? Because you have me in your corner, and that's great. And I feel the same way about him. I'm glad he's in my corner. But there's a difference of like, I need you to be able to do something. Like you mentioned, I was gone for 12 weeks if you think about her. Yeah, 12 weeks with the two surgeries combined, the 6 and 7 weeks each, 14 weeks almost.
Mm-hmm.
My business didn't fall apart. MITM didn't crumble. Why? Because I put things in place for those things to handle. It's the same thing with the security company. I got him to a point where he could manage it on his own, to where when they were asking, where's Art? Don't bother Art. Whatever you need, come to me. And it's like, that wouldn't have happened if you don't, especially in family, like we want to help our family member as much as we can, but sometimes it's enabling, right? It's like your own kids. You're trying to help your kid, but you have to let them fall. And it's the same thing with business. Again, the fall doesn't need to be detrimental where they like break their neck, but if they're going to scrape their knee, that's all right. And they're going to learn a lesson. It's the same thing with business, is understanding that like families have certain roles, certain skills, certain assets. And jealousy plays a big factor in that, especially in certain. Jealousy is another thing where it's like, brother's doing so well and the other brother thinks, well, I could do that, I could do it better, I could do this, I could do that. And it's just, it doesn't work that way. Understanding what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and then I'm good at this. My brother and I always use that because we're polar opposites. What he's great at, I'm terrible at. What he's terrible at, I'm great at. So when we come together, we stay in our lane. We stay in our lane. And I have a client who says that now, and they own a local tabletop store here in Palm Desert. And great family, love them. She came to me and she goes, I'm good at what I'm good at, and I'm terrible at what I'm not good at. And I stay in my lane. That's why I'm here. I need you to help me do the other things. And you have full authority, you have full responsibility. Whatever you say, I'm going to do. But when it comes to the stuff I'm good at, I don't need your help. And I respect that. So I don't even consult on it. I consult on everything that she's not good at. And when it comes to her, I'm like, all right, it's all you.
That goes back to what you said earlier about someone coming in with already kind of knowing, okay, look, this is what I need. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm all in, basically. I need you for this specifically. So you know exactly where you can help them. Their expertise, they got that down.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and teach you something you already know. But I'm going to teach you what you don't know. And I'm not going to take all the credit because I never do. It took them. All the credit goes to the client because they're the ones who came here. They're the ones that accepted that they don't know everything. They're the ones that decided to ask for help. But I went into that place and I redesigned the store. Essentially, I moved product, I closed shelves, I shortened shelves, I made it less cluttered. And since that's happened, the sales of that place have 10x'd. You know what I mean? And she said, there's only two people that I let touch these shelves. Us and you. If anybody else thinks that they can come here and start moving stuff around, they're going to get an earful. Because they understand I'm coming to them with an approach of like, we're going to use this to make money for you. And they're like, we're going to stay in our lane. We don't know nothing about that, but you do. So it's not my wheelhouse. Have fun. And the results speak for themselves. Anybody who expects to get a consultant and then see immediate results, they're just, nothing in life is immediate results. That's like saying I'm going to the gym and I'm the next Arnold Schwarzenegger after one workout. Like it's not going to happen.
That takes years.
Yeah, I mean, even me now, where it's like, all right, I lost 200 pounds in 7 months. That didn't just happen because I had one salad. That became a lifestyle change. Eating the right way, working out diligently and consistently. But even then, as much weight as I've lost, I have a client who's a personal trainer, and when we had our appointment last, he's like, are you ready now for me to get in there to help you shape properly? Because it's like, I did the work. I know what to do for my own body, but I don't know how to be a physique model or fitness model or a competitor. I don't want to be a competitor, but if I can learn from him and he's willing to teach, I'm staying in my lane. I know how my body is now. I know what I eat and how it works, but I don't know how to make myself look better. And that's what I'm going to rely on him to do. That's awesome. Even it's life. It's everything in life. Understanding when you're good and when you're not. And it's okay to not be good, but it's not okay to not accept help when you came looking for it. That's the one thing I'll never understand. People who pay to come here and don't take the advice. And it's like, thanks for your money, but I'm not doing this to get your money out of you. I'm doing this to build a lifelong relationship, to make a difference in this community. And your money's appreciated. Go ahead.
Do you think that's also where the ego and pride comes into play?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, where it's like their fear. It's not just ego and pride, it might be fear. I've had clients they're not afraid, or they have no ego, they have no pride. They accept the work, they accept the help, but they're afraid. It's almost fear/laziness. Like, you got all this information, you agree that it's great, your mind's been opened in a different matter on how things can be done, but then nothing changes. And when you get back, and I'm like, and that's not crazy things. I always start people off small. We're going to do this, and we're going to transition into this. I never just throw up information on the client and go, all right, see you in a month. Small baby steps, and we check in all the time. Just because we don't see you 10 times in a month doesn't mean I'm not calling you, checking in. Hey, how'd that thing go? Did you find any struggles? Or you can even pick up the phone and call. But when it's like, A month's passed and you're like, oh, I didn't do it. So why are you here?
Right.
Like, thanks for your money, but why are you here? You're wasting both our time.
Real quick, everybody out there watching, first of all, just thank you for tuning in to Man in the Middle today. Like I said, I'm drilling right here with some questions. If you guys have any questions, make sure you comment down below. Okay, we can possibly use them in the next show. We're almost going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, but make sure you put some comments down below. Hit that like button so we can put this in the algorithm for any aspiring business owners out there. Okay. Now, all right, I do have another question here for you before we kind of recap.
Yeah, and if we can,
end the
if
show.
somebody writes a question here in the chat, we might even be able to answer one of their questions too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this one's more about, building a team.
Right.
A business building a team. So let's say I'm starting. Let's go with personal trainer, since you mentioned personal trainer, and I'm a trainer and I want to build a team around me. What will be one of the first things that you would say that I need to be looking for?
I think it wouldn't even matter the industry that you're in. I think it
Mm-hmm.
matters. You're building a team, right? Okay, what are the obligations of the team? What are the roles of the team, right? So, like building a flow chart or even a corporate, they call it a corporate outline of like how each employee or each person has, you know, their position. So when you look at a corporate flow chart of like positions, the CEO's at the top, and what branches off is like CFO, CEO, right? CFO, Chief Financial, COO, Chief Operations. There should never be a person in the financials in the person on the team of the operating, right?
Mm,
They all flow back to the main company, but they stay in their lanes, like we were talking about earlier.
right.
So if the trainer is hiring trainers, those trainers shouldn't be doing anything related to payroll. Those trainers shouldn't be doing anything related to HR management. Those trainers shouldn't be anything in accounting or bookkeeping or whatever they want to do. Are they trainers? Yes, cool. Let them train. Do they have goals? Fine. That comes with the role. But the biggest discrepancy you'll find is trying to get one person to wear 30 different hats. Where it's like, I'm a huge proponent of multitasking accomplishes nothing. Everybody loves to say they're great at multitasking. Hell, I used to say I was great at multitasking. And it's like, are you good at multitasking? Or are you just good at doing a lot of things at once but not doing them effectively? Right? Because you can do 10 different things at once, but you're not doing them right. You're just piece, piece, piece. So it's like if I'm doing 5 things and I only have 100% attention, mathematics kind of takes over. I can only
Right.
really put 20% of my attention into each thing. And sure, I might be more focused on one than the other, but at the end of the day, there's only 100% of attention I can give something. So I'm going to give 5 things partial attention instead of giving one thing all the attention it deserves. So I'm going to have 5 half-assed products versus one strong product.
Mm,
And that's a big factor of understanding that sometimes it's good to be able to do multiple things, but I've now done it. I've changed the way I think, because I used to do that too. I'll do this, I'll run, and I would find myself having to work twice as hard, because not only would I be half done with everything, but then I'd have to go back and try to remember where I was in the process and where I'm going in the process, because creative flow is like very important, right? Knowing where you're at, where you're trying to get. It's the same thing with team building. Team building has to be, what am I looking for? What are my business needs? Do I need somebody who can run the books? Great. That means I need a bookkeeper.
mm-hmm.
Do I need somebody to run payroll? Yeah, bookkeeping and payroll can kind of go into one. So that's back to the CEO, CO, CFO kind of thing, COO.
Right.
They have to match within their things. Where it's like, if it's finance related, then the finance guy can do it. If it's operations related, then a management person needs to do it. But if you just have the trainer being the bookkeeper, the manager, the this, the that, I mean, what are you doing at that point?
Mm.
You're giving 20% of attention into 5 things, and that's where it's like, identify what your business needs to be successful, and if you don't know, that's where people like us come in. But when you do hire, we help you build what you need. But if you're going to do this on your own, is where is the business lacking in, and what needs to be done better. And that's how you hire. You hire accordingly. It's like buying equipment, right? We don't buy equipment just because we think we need it after 1 week of crazy business. We wait to see consistency, and if we need that, then we build a team around that. Because otherwise, when that week passes and we're no longer as busy as we were, I have all these team members who have nothing to do. And what is that doing for me? Now I'm paying for payroll and people aren't making me money.
Right.
It's just what it is.
Man, I think that's a kind of a great way to get to the end of the show here, man. Art, again, the man in the middle. Thank you very much, man. This has been great. I'm enjoying this. I'm learning so much. Everybody out there, I hope you guys are learning. I'm ready to start a business. I think, man. I got to get something going, man. But thank you, man. So just a quick recap, man. You know, we talked about the key factors that contribute, you know, to the success of a business. Art talked about pride and ego are the things that actually need to go away when you're starting a business. You know, especially when you're starting a business and you're getting a consultant like himself. So, Art, before we get out of here, man, any final thoughts or advice for any business owners out there before we get out of here?
Just keep up what you're doing. Keep putting your head to the grindstone, and understand, take some of the things in here and reflect on yourself. Reflect on how your business is operating. Could it be doing better? Chances are yes, right? Nobody's business is perfect. Not this business, not any business. But what steps could you be taking to let it get to the greatness? And if that requires you putting more time into it, then time to put more time into it. If that requires you to understand that you're not that good at this one particular thing, step back and let somebody step in. That's important too. So it's really just, and if you feel like you just can't do that on your own, that's what we're here for. That's what our membership program's here for. $100 a month. You won't find that kind of deal anywhere. No other advisory firm offers what we offer, and we offer it because it's not even about the money. It's about having you commit to coming to your meeting every month. You can get more than one meeting. The meeting a month means I'm only going to call you, my team's only going to call you once a month. After that, if you want to come see me, it's on you. You're always welcome, but I can't chase you around because it's your business at the end of the day.
Right.
And I care about it as much as you care about it. And if you don't care about it, then I can't care about it because I can't care more about your business than you.
There we go. That's the man in the middle himself. My man Art, appreciate you, man. We're going to get out of here. Thank you for everybody out there for watching Man in the Middle, episode 25. We'll be right back next week, right here on YouTube for the next show. We appreciate everybody out there. Thank you very much. Peace out.
See ya.